Good morning and welcome to the Terrace Lodge Redevelopment Steering Committee. It is March the 26th, 2024, 11 a.m. I will call this meeting to order. The first order of business is the approval of the agenda.
Resolved that the agenda for the March 26th, 2024 meeting of the Terrace Lodge Redevelopment Steering Committee be approved as presented.
Do we have a mover and seconder for that? Councillor Cookett and Councillor Widner will second. All in favor? That's carried. Moving on with the adoption of the minutes.
Resolved that the minutes of the October 10th, 2023 Terrace Lodge Redevelopment Steering Committee meeting be adopted.
Okay, those minutes have been circulated and hopefully everyone's had opportunity to peruse them. If you're satisfied, I would entertain a mover and seconder. Councillor Noble will move. Councillor Coggett will second. All in favor? That's carried. Remind the committee of any disclosure of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof. See none. No delegations today, so it brings us to section 6, reports and briefings. The first is 6.1 from the Director of Financial Services to Treasurer regarding the Terrace Lodge redevelopment construction cost update, March the 18th, 2024. Good morning, Jennifer.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, through you to the committee. This report is provided to update the committee on budget to actuals as we near the final stages of phase 2 of the Terrace Lodge redevelopment project. The March 18th report outlines that approximately $28 million has been spent on our $35.6 million project, and this leaves approximately $7.6 million left to spend. On the construction line, the last posted invoice from our contractor D Grant is included in the current update to the end of January 31st and shows approximately 79.68% of the work has been completed at that time. Current pressures that we're feeling in that budget are construction manager fees being eroded at about $25,000 per month. The current budget of $983,000 will shortly be exhausted at that rate. And D Grant suggests that the escalation allowance non-tendered, which is currently within that envelope, could be used for this purpose. However, staff recognize that the $128,000 budget line would be exhausted before the project is completed at the current rate of use. Staff are working with contractors and consultants to better understand requirements related to these fees and the expected use during phase 3. The contingency budget sits at approximately $1.9 million, with $1.5 million committed to change orders, leaving about $405,000 left available for spend. And that does not include $50,000 that is pending for additional moisture mitigation and roof repairs. Consulting services include MMMC Architects, Gail Kaufman Carlin, and Fourth Rail, who are their consultants working with staff on this project. Other includes technology, furniture, fixtures, and miscellaneous, which are other related costs not covered by the construction of the facility. There has not been much movement on these lines since the last report. However, staff are currently in the process of outfitting phase 2 in readiness for move-in in May. So we should see costs further increase as we move forward with those plans on those line items. Under financing, just to update the committee, as previously reported, the credit facility is held with Infrastructure Ontario and will provide $25 million in financing, which is to be secured at the end of the project. Since our last report, interest rates have dropped from 5.09% to 4.72%, which saves approximately $1.6 million in interest over the life of the loan. We are anticipating that rates will continue to drop throughout 2024, which makes it beneficial to not utilize these borrowings until absolutely necessary. Once the loan is secured, we will not be able to renegotiate the rate. We have taken against that, as previously reported, $1 million in order to secure the position with IO and the loan. And the report is there. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer, for that report. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, I have one. In your comments regarding the contingency, talks about the 50,000 pending for additional moisture mitigation. I assume that's has to deal with the HVAC. And are we going to be responsible for some of those costs?
Moisture mitigation is for the floor. So there was an allowance allocated for phase 2 and 3.
Right.
The allowance that was allocated was not enough for for both phase 2 and 3. So we've received the costing for phase 2 already, and the work's already been completed. We're anticipating it's going to cost $35,000 to put a sealer over top of the floor to moisture mitigate prior to putting the flooring down.
All right, thank you for that. That's all right. That's in addition to the missing floor drains.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Okay, thanks for clarifying that. Any other questions? Yes, Councilor Noble.
Through you, Warden. The drainage, is there an additional cost because that wasn't originally put in the drawings?
Is that in this
Is that,
or
is
in
that the
the
next part? Okay. I
next
thought I
report?
thought we spoke to that part.
No.
Okay,
No.
I'll leave that.
Hang on to that one. We'll revisit that. Any other questions regarding the finances at this point? Who? Yeah, Councilor Whitner.
I couldn't help it.
There we-
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Just a question. You said $35,000 to seal for water mitigation in the floor? That what I heard? 35,000?
That's correct. Phase 2, when that happened, the method they have to do to actually seal the floor, because it's the renovation, when they do the cores, there's so much water coming up, they can't put the flooring down, so they have to put a sealer on it, and the sealer is very costly. Yes, they bore through the floor, and then they put a piece of tape down, check to see how much moisture is there. From that result, it dictates on the type of sealer they need to apply to the floor. From phase 2, the costing for that's kind of why we're ballparking. It's going to be roughly about the same. Basically, the allowance from phase 2 was only enough for the allowance for the entire project was enough to cover for phase 2 only.
Okay, thank you. It just seemed like a lot. I had to ask why.
Okay, yes, Councilor Cookit.
Thank you, Mr. Warden, through you. It's a mere $35 million budget. The change orders are $1.5 million. Are we on budget, or are we looking at changing or adding to our budget?
Thank you for the question, Jennifer.
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Councillor Cookit. It is our intent to not increase the budget. That is, we do have hopefully a little bit of leeway in our furniture fixtures and possibly the technology line items. It is not our intent that we will increase the budget.
Okay. Any other questions? Seeing none, Catherine, please.
Resolved that the report titled Terrace Lodge Redevelopment Construction Costs Update, March 18th, 2024, dated March 26th, 2024, be received and filed.
We have a mover and seconder for that. Councilor Cookit will move. Councilor Noble will second. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. 6.2, Manager of Corporate Facilities and Director of Homes and Senior Services, Terrace Lodge Redevelopment 2024 Project Update, Survey Drains and Additional Asbestos Containing Material Abatement. Ryan?
Good morning. Through you, Mr. Warden, to the steering committee. The report before you is providing a project update prior to phase 2 occupancy on the progress of the Terrace Lodge redevelopment project. Currently, D-Grant, the county's contractor for Terrace Lodge redevelopment project, is working through phase 2 deficiencies prior to the Ministry of Long-Term Care, MLTC, pre-occupancy inspection. While staff are conducting the MLTC 30-day pre-occupancy self-assessment checklist, staff found that the kitchen serveries did not include floor drains and indirect drains for the hot and cold servery tables. These drains are essential for food services operation and were included in the Kaizen food services planning drawings, but not included in the mechanical drawings. Floor drains were also not included in the attached home kitchens in case of overflow of the dishwashing areas. MMC Architects for the county's architect and contract administrator for the Terrace Lodge redevelopment project, outsource the kitchen design to Kaizen, and outsource the electrical and mechanical drawings to the subcontractor service provider of Smith and Anderson. During the design process, these drains were not included on the mechanical drawings and therefore did not form part of the contract. To have these drains installed now, the county would be utilize the contingency budget in cost allowance, utilizing the contingency cost allowance, which continues to become depleted. The county has attempted to seek clarity as to why these drains were not included. However, no explanation has been provided to date. The installation of these drains must occur at this time not to delay the project and phase 2 occupancy. Staff will continue to pursue the county's architect to recover these costs and will work with the county's legal services department as necessary. To date, the additional costing to have these water supplies and drains installed is $14,633.08, plus phase 2 level 1, which is $21,232, which is still under engineer review, and the costing for phase 3. Moving on to the asbestos. The 2008 Englobe Designated Substance Survey, the DSS report that was provided during the time of tender for the Terrace Lodge redevelopment project, identified that the existing building drywall compound contains asbestos-containing material, which is ACM. Similar to all buildings constructed in this era, the redevelopment project must therefore incorporate the remedial measures necessary to accommodate the existing ACM. During the alterations of the existing staff change room located in the basement of the core building, the Ministry of Labor, MOL, attended the project review process in respect of the handling of the ACM. This area was originally intended to be an alteration. However, because of exposed drywall edges were left unencapsulated, the Ministry of Labor ordered the abatement of the entire area, requiring all drywall to be removed. Since this time, the county has revised the ACM policies, conducted further training for all staff, working with material and implemented check sheets before and after work. From this experience, staff has reviewed the scope of work completed in phase 3 following the Interior Regs 278/05 section 6.1 for work involving ACM. All work zones have been categorized into two categories, either demolition, where all ACM is completely abated, or alterations, where limited work will happen. During the process of the contractor is required to abide by the county's newly revised policies, which will adhere to the regulations and require check inspections to be completed before and after work. After reviewing the scope of each location and determining the required abatement activity to work with the existing ACM, staff shared the plan with the Ministry of Labor. The Ministry of Labor reviewed the staff work plan and advised that the scope of work appears to comply with the prescribed regulation requirements. However, they would not commit to approval since their role is limited to enforcing OSHA and its prescribed regulations. D-Grant has provided an additional abatement costs based upon our plan of $24,000, $542.84 plus HST. Staff recommend that this report be received and filed, and that the phase 3 abatement work is approved to support the timely implementation of phase 3 project work to align with the associated ACM regulations. I'd be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Excuse me. Thank you, Ryan, for that report. Does anyone have any questions? I think as Councillor Cook had pointed out, it's kind of dynamic and change orders seem to be the order of the day, and fascinating what you find as you move along, isn't it? Okay, all's quiet.
Resolved that the March 26th, 2024 report titled Terrace Lodge Redevelopment 2024 Project Update, Servery Drains and Additional Asbestos-Containing Material Abatement be received and filed, and that the Terrace Lodge Redevelopment Steering Committee authorize approval of the proposed Phase 3 asbestos-containing material abatement work.
Do we have a mover and seconder for that? Councillor Noble, Councillor Widner will second. All in favor? And it's carried. Thank you. All right, that brings us down then to section 11, day of the next meeting. At the call of the chair, I would assume. Okay. So I brings us to the adjournment motion.
Resolved that do now adjourn at 11:15 a.m. to meet again at the call of the chair.
Do we have a mover and seconder for that? Counselor Cookett? Counselor Widner? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. We're adjourned.